And over the weekend, the Polynesian Hall of Fame announcing its top high school player of the year award, and this year doing something unique. It went to two recipients, quarterbacks Isaac Wilson and Dylan Raiola. Our own Blair Angulo was at the Poly Bowl and caught up with Raiola as he readies for his freshman season at Nebraska.
I'm excited. I can't wait to get back up there. I'm gonna enjoy this weather while I can because it's in the negatives right now. But I'm just excited to get up there with my teammates and get to work. We have a great foundation Coach Rule laid, last year. But it's our job to take over and take this thing by the bull. It's special to be out here where I grew up. All my friends and family to be out here and be able to come to this game. It means a lot to me. I never played football growing up while I lived out here, but to have the opportunity to come play in front of a bunch of family and friends, I couldn't ask for anything better. I think it was a hard time. Coach Smart, what he does with his program is hard to turn away from, but I just felt a tug at my heart. I felt God had other plans for me, and that was to be going to Nebraska, and to be able to be a leader in that program. Bring Nebraska back with my teammates. I think it can be special, and I think it's one of the only places in the country that you can do that with. With the family legacy of my dad being there, and just how much the city and how much the state really pours into Nebraska. He really gave me no pitch. It was just really conversations, some hard conversations, and he really challenged me to really write everything out and to just lay everything out that I wanted to do. I think I wrote everything out, and the last thing I wanted to do was, be a transformational leader. And to go to a program like that, I think it can be special. But Georgia's the powerhouse now, and I have a lot of respect for that program, and they're going to continue great success and great things. But I think Nebraska's a college program that people have forgotten about, and I think it's about that time to wake that sleeping giant up. Coach Rules, he's been preaching to his team that you can't look too far ahead, but at the same time, you have to prepare for those moments before they happen. So I think just the biggest thing is staying on the journey. The trajectory of the journey can change, but you just got to stay level-headed and stay grinding throughout the whole thing. I'm coming with a bunch of guys that want to win and guys that are starving to win and bring Nebraska back. So you guys keep showing up to the games. Keep trusting and believing in us, and we're going to do some great things. They'll be great.
I'm still not over that 70-yard throw, and we're going to bring in two guys who saw it up close and personal. It's Blair Angulo and Brandon Huffman. Blair still bringing back a little bit of Hawaii with him with a fun shirt. Love to see it. I'll start with you because you talked to Dylan Raiola at the beginning of the week, but what did you see from him, Blair, during practices in the All-Star game?
Emily, he was really good all week, especially going through his progressions. That's something I really wanted to see. We know about the arm talent. We know about how special that arm action is. He can get the ball downfield with ease. But I wanted him to go through progressions and go to his second and third option, and I thought he did that really well throughout practice. And then we see the 70-yard throws during the long ball competition. No one matched that. He's got a special future ahead of him in Lincoln, and I think what he showed out in Hawaii is just a glimpse of what we can expect from him, even as a true freshman when he gets to Nebraska.
Yeah, and I think when you saw what Nico Yamaliava did last year in Honolulu for the Polynesian Bowl, Dylan would have a similar type of week, and he did. Looked good from the beginning of the week to the end of the week. Had a little bit of a slow start in the game, much like Nico did a year ago, where he threw an early interception, but then rallied his team to win. You see just how effortless the ball comes out of his hand. And like our buddy Greg Biggins always says, he does have dynamite in his elbow, and it was evident in the two long tosses. But just even watching him practice, watching him throw the ball, it looked like it was so effortlessly coming out of his hand. It would go 40, 50 yards routine. He wasn't having to, take a running start to let go of the ball. It's just a very smooth, accurate release, and I think he's going to be doing big things in college these next couple of years.
All right, so Raiola clearly won the long throw, but the winner of Offensive MVP went to Tennessee wide receiver commit Mike Matthews. Nico Iamaleava is certainly hoping that he's a big weapon for him this season. But Huff, what about his performance this past week showed that he can be a day one contributor for the Vols?
Yeah, one of the things about Mike was that he didn't treat Hawaii like it was a vacation. He treated it like a business trip. Every day in practice, he was the first guy in line. He was the guy going to the front of the line for each rep, and he did each rep as if it was a business trip. It wasn't cruise control for him, and you saw him in the second half of the game, really kind of take it over with a little short pass that he took and just turned the Jets on to get into the end zone. You see the explosiveness, you see the speed, you see how smooth he is as a pass catcher. And he talked about being in practice with the Bowl for a week with Tennessee before he went to the 2 All-American games. And he said he cannot wait to catch the ball from Nico. I can't wait to see him catch the ball from Nico myself from my television.
And when you think about competitiveness and we think about some of these true freshmen that have to go into college and fight for a spot and make an impact right away, we saw glimpses of that from Mike Matthews. During practice, he was jawing with corners. He wasn't afraid to snap back if they told him they had shut him down. Even during the game, me and Brandon are standing next to each other on the sideline, and we look at each other because Mike Matthews had just pointed at another corner saying, hey, I'm coming for you. A few plays later, he scores a touchdown. So I think it's the headspace that he's in. I think it's that mentality that he brings to Knoxville that's going to make him really special. And obviously a 5-star talent, another one for Nico Iamaleava.
Let's talk about some defenders. David Stone, who our friend Cooper just so lovingly referred to as a dog, and Jayden Jackson, both of those guys starring on the defensive line this past week, and both are committed to the Sooners. So what should Oklahoma fans know about these 2 incoming freshmen, Blair?
Emily, we've been breaking this down for a couple years now, how the Oklahoma Sooners have to get bigger and have to get stronger up front heading into the SEC. Look no further than David Stone and Jayden Jackson. They were dominant all week. It was a bit lax in terms of the offensive versus the defensive line battles that we usually get to see in Polynesian Bowl. There was a lot of travel delays across the country due to the weather, but there was only one day, and that was the day when both of these Oklahoma Sooners shined. And in the game, they were both really dominant. I think they turned that game around in the second half with how explosive and how disruptive they were up front. I think they've got all the potential to see the field early. It's a little bit tougher for defensive linemen to do so, especially in the SEC, but they have the motor, they have the work ethic, and the relentlessness to be able to get that done for Brent Venables.
One of the most fascinating things was David Stone coming in late because there was a travel delay getting him out to Hawaii. The first day of practice, he tweaked his ankle, and I thought, we've been to this game enough that guys are going to tap out when they get the injury. So what does he do the next day? He comes out and dominates and ends up being the alpha dog that day. Then he has a stellar game, and if it weren't for his late touchdown, he was getting pressure on the quarterbacks all day. Jayden Jackson would have been in contention for the MVP himself. He had a fumble recovery. He did it all on that. He had a sack, forced the fumble, and scored a touchdown that cut the lead to 3 and allowed for them to come back. But Jackson and Stone really making Brent Venables probably excited with what he was watching. Maybe he was jealous he didn't get to be in Honolulu to watch the game, but he can't be jealous that he gets both those guys to come and really help that defensive line when they get to Norman. I thought David Stone and Jayden Jackson both really cemented themselves as elite prospects, but David Stone was the best defensive lineman there from the beginning of the week until the end of the week and earned the defensive MVP honors during the game.
I do understand the jealousy of not being in Honolulu, so that's a very relatable experience for him. You guys also attended the Lineman Showcase Thursday night, where you saw Hawaii's #1 player in the 2025 class, Houston Kaahaaina-Torres. I hope I nailed that. He was actually named the Alpha Dog in that. So what did you see from him at that event, Huff?
We actually saw him 2 years ago, the first time Blair and I covered the Maui underclassmen event. There's a theme here. We get to go to Hawaii and get to see some great football. But he came and he had a wrist injury, so he didn't get to work out. Then he comes back last summer and earns an invite to the 2025 Under Armour All-American game. He played opposite 4-star Rustin Young this past year at St. Louis. And now with Rustin Young headed to Michigan State, Houston will be the guy in Hawaii in 2025. Like we said, already been invited to the Under Armour game. He's going to play inside. He played tackle for St. Louis, but he showed the other night playing center that he is going to be an instant impact interior offensive lineman. That's the one position that a lot of guys need that year or two to really put on the weight and the strength and the quickness, but he already shows all of that, and he's going to be one of the top interior linemen in the 2025 class, and I thought he acquitted himself very nicely last week.
A lot of schools already in pursuit of Houston and his signature. Nebraska is a big offer. He's been there a couple times. Texas is a school that's monitoring him really closely. They've made an impact out in the islands in the last couple of cycles. Arizona State, BYU, Michigan State, which just signed the #1 player in the state of Hawaii in this 2024 cycle, is also offered. So he's going to have his share of options. He's going to be able to, I think, even get even more offers coming into the spring evaluation period when more more coaches get out to the islands and see him, because it's hard for me to envision there being a better center prospect in the country than Houston and what he's able to do.
Speaking of some open recruitments, I got one more question for you. Blair, you said that you thought that Terry Bussey was the best overall player there this week, and he is actually one of a few five-stars who is not signed. He is technically committed, though, to Texas A&M. So what can you tell us about maybe how he's feeling as he makes that final decision?
Still committed to Texas A&M, likes Coach Elko, likes what that staff has been able to tell him, but obviously he is still open to the process. Did not sign during the early period, intends to take an official visit to Georgia here coming up, also wants to take unofficials to LSU and Texas before getting back for one final official visit to Texas A&M. Has already been there in an official capacity. Prospects that go under a coaching change can go and take another official visit. So College Station is still the place where he feels the most comfortable, but I got vibes that maybe Georgia could be sneaking in there and getting him. They have the two new coaches in the secondary. They like him at corner. He says from a development standpoint, it could be the place that develops him the most and gets him ready and prepared for the NFL. And so I have an inkling, and just catching up with Greg Bingham's out in Hawaii, who caught up with Terry Bussey out in Orlando for the Under Armour game. He also got Georgia vibes. So look out for Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs to potentially get a late flip here into signing day.
2 years ago, they tried to get a late flip in state in Travis Hunter, the two-way prospect who ended up flipping from Florida State to Jackson State. Well, now Georgia is leaving their state to potentially get the top two-way prospect in 2024 in Terry Bussey. This is the guy who was our alpha for the entire week. When we did our final Poly Bowl superlative story, he was our top prospect. He was the alpha dog. He could have been an alpha dog at either position. Started at wide receiver for his team and then had an interception playing corner in the game. 2 years ago, Travis Hunter was one of the co-MVPs of the game. 2 years later, Terry Bussey himself showed that he's a two-way star. And there's a reason that Georgia and LSU are trying to flip him from Texas A&M. There's a reason why Texas A&M is holding on like crazy to keep the in-state guy there, because this kid is absolutely electric. I saw him 2 years ago at the National Prep Showcase in Las Vegas, and I think he had a couple offers. We were talking about that in Hawaii, and now he is one of the premier players in all of this class, regardless of position. And he is about one intriguing player to watch between now and February 7th when signing day happens. Whoever gets him is going to get one of the most exciting players that we've seen in recent years.
I love it. Huff, Blair, thank you both. Appreciate the sacrifice going out to Hawaii for us. As always, much appreciated. They mentioned potential signing day drama, but here at 24/7 Sports, it's not just National Signing Day. We are celebrating Signing Week. From February 4th through the 8th, we are dropping content on your favorite team, so make sure that you are keeping it locked right here on the 24/7 Sports YouTube page.